Hey, let's go to a guy that never ends when it comes to talking about golf. He is our golfing guru. He is at Mill Creek, home of the best cart paths. He is Brian Tolnar. Mr. Tolnar, how are you today, sir?
Oh, doing great. Just a little couple clouds and a little bit of passing showers through here would be even better. But all in all, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, let me ask you. Obviously, last weekend we had a good amount of rain. From a drought standpoint, are we still in need of some water, especially on the golf course, or are you guys in pretty good shape right now?
We are in actually really good shape right now. The cool nights have certainly helped. Certainly less humidity at night, less heat during the course of the day. It's still getting warm, but it's been a lot better. We took on 2.9 inches, is what our superintendent said on Friday. We got just a hair under 3 inches of rain, but the good news was it was a good soaking rain, so it lasted several hours through the night, and the ground seemed to absorb it pretty darn well. Normally, if you get 2 or 3 inches of rain, and what we normally get in like 15, 20 minutes, that's when it really poses a problem for us, especially with the ground being so hard. But since it was steady and it was through the course of an extended period of time over several hours, it, the course soaked it in. And I opened Saturday morning, and it really we had some areas in the rough that were starting to get some just some signs of dryness, and they were really green the next morning. So literally in one day, some of those spots that were dealing with some heat stress really changed back to Kelly green. So it was good to see. But like anything, we can use a little bit, just not in mega volume.
Unfortunately, storms rolled through the area on Friday night. It really made football interesting. Were there any problems with storms as far as wind damage or lightning, God forbid, anything like that at the park?
You know what? We one of the few times that we've had some severe weather and came through unscathed. So normally we lose a tree just because we've got so many on the property, branches and what have you. But the weekend was actually pretty darn good to us. We got a little bit of thunder and the lightning. We had some people play up until about 4 o'clock when the last uh, source of lightning came through. We pulled everybody off the course and really ended up calling it quits because we got some heavier rain, that portion of the day. But we like I said, we made it through unscathed, which was awesome. Took it easy on our green superintendent on Saturday morning, and his staff just went out and did the normal cutting, and we were back up and ready Saturday and Sunday. We had a great weekend.
Brian, let's talk a little bit about the fall golf at Mill Creek. You mentioned all of those trees, and with the trees comes the leaves falling down. And when the leaves start to fall down, that kind of makes the golf ball a little fun to try to find on the golf course. It's Let's talk about some of the things that you guys are doing at Mill Creek this fall to try to have the golfers find their golf balls and make the experience really good.
Well, for us, when they start falling, it's definitely a challenge with the amount of trees that we have. And normally maybe a week or two into the month of October, mid-October, they start falling, and then they'll basically fall until around Thanksgiving in some fashion or another. Some of them come out early, which is our October, and some of them hold till late Thanksgiving. So our guys are always challenged with blowing off the entire golf course, then going out and cutting it, and then blowing it all off again, whatever's left in the latter part of the day for the league play. But we've been lucky. We've been lucky to land a couple grants through the BWC. One of them was for about a $52,000 piece of equipment called a Wiedemann vacuum. I know ourselves, I think Avalon Lakes and Yankee Run were the three in our area that took the time to write this grant out, and it was good enough for a Wiedemann vacuum, which basically would vacuum the entire golf course. I want to say it's about 2 tons worth of leaves, branches, tree debris, and basically compacts it where our guys can go over instead of blowing it to a certain pile and then you're vacuuming it up. We're basically just going over it once with this big vacuum unit, sucking all the debris out of the way, and it's made life a lot easier for our staff. It's a little bit quicker, plus it's a little bit better for the employees that would have to go out there and pick all those branches up. And especially when you get close to the trees, you're constantly raking, so it takes a little bit of wear and tear on your staff. So, part of this grant was to make sure that we keep the employees safe from injury, and it's been a great piece of equipment that we ended up putting into effect this past spring. So we're excited to have that. Our teams worked hard on finding money if and when it's available, and that's the grant that comes available about every 5 years or so through the BWC. So we've gotten lucky enough to get it. I think this was the first one that we've had here for the entire Metro Park, so we're happy to be a part of that and happy to take advantage of taking a little burden off of our staff and letting the technology sort of take its turn. But, we're always on, trying to maintain the golf course. I find the fall to be probably my most enjoyable time to get out there and play. Not only is the trees changing color, the golf course plays a little bit differently. The green speeds are definitely always faster in the fall because the growth on the green starts to stunt just a little bit with the cool mornings. So it's a fun time to play, and I think this year, based on what we've seen with a very dry summer, I think it could go all the way out to about Thanksgiving. So we've had times where we've played up until about the 23rd, 24th of December, and I think this could be one of those years where we could do that. But it's a very enjoyable time, other than the fact that you start losing daylight a little bit, and 5, 6 o'clock it's dark, which on the other hand is nice for if you work at a golf course to be home and having dinner with your family at a reasonable hour. But there's nothing better to me than being able to participate in fall golf and then coming home to watch college football and be part of sports.
Can you give us a quick high school recap of the teams that played at Mill Creek this week?
Well, we had South Range. They just had a match last night. They had a tri-match, as well as Ursuline, JFK, and Mooney. They played in their little Catholic conference. They play for what they call the Bishop Cup every time that they tee it up at each one of these locations. Ursuline, I believe, is undefeated in that Catholic Cup. I think they're 6-0 so far, so they've played extremely well. Poland girls had a match as well, and Boardman has had a couple matches, both their boys and girls teams. So, as they're starting to get into the season here, the heart of it before heading into their sectionals and districts, there's a lot of great golf being played here locally, and we're happy to have 8 teams that call Mill Creek home. So it's great for high school golf. We just concluded the Cardinal Classic a couple weeks ago, which Boardman and South Range both tied for first, and Boardman just edged them out with the scorecard playoff, which is the 5-man score. But all in all, it bodes well for the 30 teams that were here participating in that, for the local teams to play well as they did. Calling Mill Creek home certainly helps.
Brian Tolnar, our guest, he covers the PGA, and he is the guy in charge over at Mill Creek. And the fall course, as Brian said, it's beautiful out there with the leaves changing, and the course plays entirely different from the summertime. So you definitely want to check out and play a few rounds over at Mill Creek. Let's go to the FedEx Cup Tour Championship. From Atlanta, Georgia, the East Lake Golf Club. Dustin Johnson will start with a 2-shot lead over John Rahm and a 3-shot lead over Justin Thomas, a 4-shot lead over Webb Simpson, and we go all the way down to the kids that are going to be in the 30th spot, or technically tied for 26th. 5 guys at even par. So it's nice to be number 1 going into this tournament, because you automatically have a 2-shot lead going into the first round. I kind of like the way they do this, rewarding the player that was number 1 going into the Tour Championship.
Yeah, it's something different. It's something that we're not used to seeing. As a PGA Tour event starts, you basically have a leaderboard already set. However, but if you look at what the money list is, they're playing for $50 million combined this week. Plus, there's a bonus pool of how you finish at the end in the FedEx Cup points. So, I mean, your winner this week is going to walk away with $15 million plus whatever he gets off of the bonus pool. And that goes all the way down to 30th place, where they play for a measly $395,000. So basically your top 8 players are earning $1 million plus So the top 10 is really where you want to be, and everybody else is about $500,000, 830,000, 950,000 for ninth. So they're playing for a great deal of money. However, when you start with a two-shot advantage and you're playing as well as Dustin Johnson is and John Rahm and a couple of the other guys that finished well last week, it's a tough number to overcome. But, hey, you've worked hard to get here to have that total at the end of the day, and it means a lot, certainly headed into a venue like the East Lake Golf Club, because it plays extremely tough. Another Donald Ross design. We've had about 3 or 4 of these this year, played on the PGA Tour. Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, Donald Ross, of course, has kind of phased away because of the length and the shortness. But most of these that we've seen in the past couple weeks here, Detroit Golf Club, Sedgefield was another one of those. Boston was, another area that they played another Donald Ross design. They're starting to lengthen them a little bit. They're starting to reinvest into some of these facilities. So you're going to see some of the Donald Ross designs of the early 1900s come back in, and East Lake is no prisoner to that as well with the money and the redo that they put in there in 2007. To be able to bring tournaments like this back to the venue. You're looking at a club that was established in 1904, upgraded in 2007. If you look at the scorecard, originally was about 6,400 yards, pretty close to where Mill Creek is at 66,000 yards on the north and south. They lengthened it to 7346, so it's playing a hair under 74,000 yards. They almost added, over 1,000 yards to it. And you look at the holes that are out there, similar to his traditional Donald Ross course, 1 par 5 on each of the 9, both reachable by everybody in the field this week. You've got 7 par 4s that measure in over 420 to up to 600 or 469 yards. Number 9 is a par 3 measuring at 235. Number 15 comes at 211, which has been made famous by David Thomas, who had the ace there in the PGA Championship. There's some high drama closing holes. You definitely, true with Donald Ross designs, you want to be below the hole. You want to miss the errant shots on the side that it's easy to get it up and down. So, making the most of a good iron game, you have to be extremely precise. Not necessarily a premium on bombing the golf ball, although it certainly helps. Accuracy is probably first and foremost up front and center to give yourself those easy iron shots to hit, to get an up and down or give yourself a birdie on the green. And, the uphill putts is going to be a premium this week. So if you leave it 5, 10, 15 feet below the hole, there'll be certain that those guys, with how well they are, and we're talking the top 30 players in the world, that you're going to see a lot of birdies. So, this week, back up to 15, 16 under will probably be where we come in. Last week played like a U.S. Open. The roughs were deep. The rough around the greens was extremely heavy. If you didn't hit a lot of fairways, it made it tough, just 2 and 3 feet off the fairway. A little bit of a throwback when you head to Atlanta. The grass doesn't get as thick and as coarse for the players as it would up in the Midwest. So you're going to see a little bit more leeway on some errant tee shots and so on, but you want to make sure that you're below the hole to give yourself the best opportunity. The scoring record down there is 23 under by Tiger Woods. Rory McIlroy was our defending champion and our FedEx Cup, 2-time FedEx Cup champion as well. He's in the field this week, so I expect him to play well. Just all in all, just a great golf course that started out as a 7-hole facility back in 1904 and expanded to 18 holes by 1907. So, really unique history at the Atlantic Athletic Club, which is now East Lake Golf Club. Bobby Jones basically started playing the game of golf there at age 9, and we know what he's been able to do by winning the Grand Slam and creating the Masters. So there's a lot of history there, and it's nice to see the PGA Tour going back to some of these historic 1900-type facilities and being able to compete at the highest levels.
All right, it's time for every week. You got your Power of 5. I don't think we're going to hear any surprises this week out of the Power of 5. What do you got?
Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit easier to handicap just based on the starting positions where the players are. You start off 10 under. It really puts the latter half of the field out of reach. I mean, you have to shoot 61 just to claw yourself back into it. So seldom do we see a player coming from that 15th to 30th spot to jump in there. like when they first started the tournament. So you're really looking at guys that are in the top 10. And if you're in the top 10, you have to be doing a lot in the latter part of the top 10. Really, the top 5 guys control their destiny, and they're hoping that, Dustin Johnson and John Rahm really stumble coming down the stretch or put up a big number early to get themselves back in it. I think, the way that Dustin Johnson's been playing the last 2 weeks, so we talked, 2 weeks ago, it's going to come down to the player that gets the hottest within a 3-week period. And I think if you look at Dustin Johnson, I was leery on him last week, finishing so high the week before at 30 under, tying the tour record for the, most under par at a PGA Tour event. Really following that up last week, he did. He continues to knock down putt after putt. I mean, knocking down 44-footers, 30-footers, 66-footers. John Rahm was in that realm, too, on greens that were extremely tough and on a golf course that didn't yield too many scores under par. And if you look, I think there was about 4 players that finished under par for the entire tournament. So, the golf course played tough. However, they still found a way to compete and win. Dustin Johnson's going to come into that number 1 spot, starting the week with a 2-shot lead, which is a big advantage. It doesn't sound like much, but 2 shots to a player that's playing as well as he is a lot. I think he's hot. I think every part of his game is firing on every cylinder. Being 10 under to start off, I mean, he could shoot 65 right out of the gate and be 15 under, and then you're looking at, a lot of guys that have to do a lot of things special over the course of 2 and 3 rounds to even be considered to try to catch into there. So Dustin Johnson comes in number 1. John Rahm, his opponent in the playoffs last week, who ended up coming out victoriously. I think he's got length and iron play, and I think if he puts it like he did, the past year, I think he'll play well. He's got 2 wins in 2020, and he's only 2 back, which is doable. It's going to be tough for him, but it's doable. But I think if he continues to putt well, I think he could be in there. Webb Simpson comes in at 3, most consistent player, hits a lot of fairways. 4 back may be a daunting task to get there. Justin Thomas, Dustin and Justin, too many names that are close together, comes in at 4 this week. He's been up and down pretty much all year. He's won where he's needed to win tournaments. He's played well. He's got some top 5s. Being a few shots back as well is going to make it tough for him. Patrick Reed's probably the only one. Colin Morikawa officially comes in at 5, but I have Patrick Reed coming in at 5 on my Power 5 this week because I think he can make more birdies than anybody in the field if he has to. But he's going to have to make a ton coming in at 7 back at that 5 spot in my Power 5. Couple sleepers. These are just a shot in the dark. Xander Schauffele, the 2017 winner, was a runner-up there last year, so he certainly plays well there. He's going to need to do a ton to get back in it. Harris English is another one of those guys that plays well. Normally you'd say like a Billy Horschel. He's a past FedEx Cup champion, but coming into 30 really has not too much of a shot to be in it, just in how far he's back. I mean, coming in 10 shots back, you're giving a PGA Tour player a 10-shot lead. They're not going to catch him 9 times out of 10. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out this week, but I've got Dustin Johnson edging out John Rahm this week, and Dustin Johnson winning the whole thing for the FedEx Cup Championship.
Brian DeChambeau was started out the delayed version of the PGA Tour on fire. He's cooled off considerably since then, but he does come in 6 shots in back of Dustin Johnson. If DeChambeau finds his stride again, like he did early on when the PGA Tour kicked off in late June, does DeChambeau have a shot to at least make things interesting?
I think any of the guys in that 5, 4 under to start off have a shot. I don't think anybody beyond them really has a legitimate shot other than, the Patrick Reeds and Rory McIlroys at 3, just because there's so much ground to make up. Yeah, they can shoot low rounds. I think the key for any of those guys in 5 under, 4 under, 3 under is going to be how hot can you get out of the gate on Thursday to post that 62, 63, 64 to get close to that 10 under number before Dustin Johnson starts his tournament, because he's going to go off at the end. If those guys can put any type of pressure on them, so they're thinking about, my 10 under and 2-shot lead and 5-shot lead over some of these players is now only 2 and 3 or 1 and 2, then Dustin Johnson has to think about it a little bit. But you almost have to do that Thursday, and you have to back it up with probably a 65 or 66 on Friday to think about what you want to do heading into Saturday and Sunday. Are you going to be more aggressive on Saturday? Because, I mean, if you look at, the money list and what you're going to gain, coming in second or coming in third, I mean, you're looking at $5 million for second place. So second place is coveted just as much as the $15 million for first. Although, some of the guys aren't going to get to that $15 million number, coming in first. But, if you're coming in fifth, 2.5, fourth, 3 million, third, 4 million, or second at 5 million, you're starting to think I can pick off one of these guys at 2, 3, 4, or 5 and really turn in a $550,000 15th place finish into a fifth for 2.5 million, plus the bonus pool you have coming on the back end.
Well, the first thing, me and Ron got in the wrong profession. Let's just say that right up front.
Well, I just want to be a caddy. 10% of $5 million, that's $500,000 to carry someone's bags. Yeah, sign me up for that one.
Exactly. I usually go on the fringe with my picks, and it's worked out a couple times. So I'm not messing around this week, and I think John Rahm wins it. I feel kind of cheap for picking a guy that's second, but with the way this is set up, you've said it's hard for people to come back from being 5 down, 6 down, 7 down. So I'm going John Rahm, only 2 back, and I think he can make up that ground.
And I think that's solid too. And this is why this week is probably the most easy out of all of them. It's definitely going to be one of those guys out of the top 5 or 6. There's no question about that. Just on how it's set up, it's a long shot for a guy to come back from 10 shots back. Just starting off, so you're already kind of deflated coming in at that. Like, if I finish 20th or 22nd and I'm 8 or 9 shots back, you're sitting, man, I got 10 shots to make up, and it's. To do that to a Dustin Johnson or John Rahm or a Webb Simpson, it's probably not going to happen for how good that they've played. If they played poorly heading into it, yeah, they may have a shot, but Dustin's just been lights out.
Well, I'm with Dustin Johnson as well. I just don't see how he loses. Then again, I would keep an eye on Morikawa. I think that he's one of those guys that can get hot pretty quickly and make things really interesting. So Morikawa is my sleeper, but I'm going to go chalk on this one.
You know what? The interesting thing about Morikawa is, obviously he's outperformed his goals and what he wanted to do this year. Obviously, getting his first win and getting a major. He, out of everybody in that top 5, he's got nothing to lose. I mean, if I'm him, I'm firing at every single pin, knowing that I've got my exemption for the PGA Championship, and I'm all set, ready to go. However, if you win this, you get another 5 years exemption on the PGA Tour. You get all your majors and all of that, which is awesome. But I mean, he pretty much already got that a couple weeks ago, winning the PGA Championship. So if I'm him, I'm playing extremely aggressive. And what do you have to lose? I'm going to go out and try to shoot 63, 64, 65 every single day and give yourself a good opportunity, a couple shots back going into Sunday.
All right, Brian, before we let you go, let's get the tip of the week.
Tip of the week is something that is good for every level golfer, because we all find ourselves in situations where we didn't hit a good tee shot. We hit an iron shot that's offline. We hit it behind a tree or in the wood line on the right or left side of the fairway. It's going to be our punch shot this week. So it's going to be the shot that's going to get you out of trouble and give you the best opportunity to make the best score that you could make by playing it smart. So our punch shot, number 1, club selection is the key. You want to grab a club that has very little loft to it, preferably an iron. So you're looking at a 3-iron, a 4-iron, or a 5-iron. In some cases, it could be even a driver. I punched out of some situations where you had to keep it extremely low, where the driver would do that for you. So you want to stay away from hybrids, some high lofted woods, 6, 7, 8, 9 irons, because the ball is going to have the tendency of wanting to get up in the air because those clubs are going to be high lofted. They're designed to get the ball up. So we want to make sure that we get something that has very low loft to it. Ball position is going to be slightly behind the middle of your stance, more towards your back foot in the swing, but not all the way back, because that'll have the tendency of pinching the ball to get the ball up. So somewhere between the middle and your back foot, somewhere in there, but not very close to that back foot. Weight's going to be 50-50 on the shot, so you want to be equal, unlike a bunker shot where we moved our weight to the front, or a shot that we're trying to keep our weight towards our heels or toes, which are some of the shots we talked about last week. We want to be your general stance, nice, comfortable stance, weight 50 on the front foot and the back foot. This golf swing is going to be what I call a hip level swing or lower. So it's that lower arc of your golf swing. You want to think about, nothing coming back higher than your hips on the backswing, and anywhere from your knee level to your hip level on the forward swing. Keeping in mind, the more that we go past the hip level, it's going to cause the ball to go up into the air. So we want to keep that very low after we make contact. We want to hold our hands ahead as low, following through the shot as we can. You want to keep in mind that the ball's going to come off low. It's going to come off running. So I've seen this a zillion times. You go play in Pro-Ams, the guy gets at the tree line on the right-hand side. He wants to hit the ball too hard because he's got a little punch shot, so he gives a little bit too much juice, and he ends up being on the tree line on the left-hand side. So our goal is, number one, to hit it out to a spot, preferably in the fairway, where your next shot you're going to have a decent lie. The next shot's the shot that you want to knock close or get on the green and give yourself an opportunity to get it up and down. A lot of people play too much into the punch shot, trying to be a hero on the shot, either trying to go for the green. It ends up going too high because they've swung too hard, followed through too much. The ball gets elevated. Either a tree knocks it back down or knocks it behind you. We want to make sure we just get it back into play and just have enough distance to get it to the center of the fairway. We're not trying to overdo it from that standpoint. And if you do that, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity to give yourself a greater chance of getting it up and down on an open look from the fairway. So club selection is vital in your swing, making sure that it stays below your hip level. That lower arc of the golf swing is where we have to be, all by moving the ball position back of middle just slightly and making sure that club face and your hands stay as low to the ground as possible through the golf swing as you can. If you do that, the ball's going to come out and shape the way that you want to. Knowing the next shot's going to be the key shot. Don't try to be the hero on the first shot, because I've seen that time and time again, and you turn into just punching it out, where you could have gotten it up and down and made that par or bogey. Guys try to do a little bit too much. It hits a tree, it goes back further in the woods, it goes behind you, it goes through the fairway, and that's when you turn in a score of 6 or 7 or 8 on a hole, where you're just, 5 would be good enough just to get it out of trouble, give yourself some opportunities. My goal is, when I'm out there, you're trying to make the lowest score every single time. So, yeah, there's times where you drive it erratically or you hit it in bunkers, but you want your next shot to be the best it can be. So you're always playing for that next shot. Just like shooting pool. Where do you want to leave that cue ball for the next shot? Yeah, you knocked it in, but you also knocked the white ball in too, the cue ball in. So, positioning yourself for the next play. Doesn't have to be the hero on the second shot. Hit a good third shot. Maybe you knock in a 10-footer for par. If you do that, you're good. You make bogey. At worst, you're out of there. It eliminates the high score, and I think that's the key with the punch shot. Put yourself in good position.
Brian, how far does a punch shot normally go? Let's say, and I've done this far too many times, the first shot will go to the right, and it will land in front of a tree. Obviously, you're not going to be able to go through a tree, so you want to get it back into the fairway. With this punch shot, using a 3-iron, which I don't know if anyone else's golf clubs are like this. My 3, 4, and 5 irons look like miniature woods, where they look like a miniature wood. So if I were to take a 4-iron and do the punch shot, how far into the fairway does that ball travel if you hit it well?
Well, it all depends on how far you take the golf club back. And I'll put it this way. Hip level, you're going to get your maximum distance, maybe 50 yards. If you take your backswing to between your knee and your hip level, you're going to knock about half of that off. Sometimes it could be a little bit shorter. It all depends on what yardage you have to hit it back into the field of play. or hit it into that fairway spot. You may have 50 yards, you may have 20, you may have 10, just to get it out to give yourself a good look. So you want to make sure that your swing is comparable to the distance that you're trying to hit it. But maximum, I wouldn't do anything more than 50 yards. I mean, just to get it out to give yourself the opportunity on the next one.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had this advice. I don't know, for the last 20 some odd years, because inevitably when I shoot off the tee, when it goes way to the right, it winds up behind a tree or underneath something, where the second shot it's a tight window, and I'm not an NFL quarterback. I can't put a ball through a tight window. So there you go.
No, it's certainly key. I think everybody always tries to bite off way more than they can chew, and if you just be a little bit conservative about it, get yourself in good position. The times that I get it up and down for par when I don't drive it good, or when I punch it out, give myself that next opportunity. Yeah, you hit the green, you may have 10 feet for par, but I'm not making worse than bogey, and I think that's the real key. Everybody tries to hit that punch shot where it's going to cut a little bit, it's going to go 30 yards, and then it's going to slice 20, it's going to catch part of the green. Those are pie in the sky, because if you miss that shot and you're off just a little bit, now you're in a bunker. Now you're down a hill in a ravine. Now you're in heavy grass. Now it's tough to get it up and down, where if you're 40 or 50 yards out and you're hitting a sand wedge or a pitching wedge from the fairway, the odds are way better from there than they are out of that green side bunker or the heavy grass left of the green.
Add that to the pamphlet, and we're getting that built up.
I like it.
Hey, always a pleasure, Brian. We will catch up next week. We'll have a PGA champ or a FedEx Cup champ, and then the good stuff starts, because we still have a couple of majors yet.
It is. If you're a fan of golf, with the back half of this season and what the PGA Tour has been able to do, I mean, you've got Champions Tour playing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You've got the PGA Tour Thursday through Sunday. So golf really hit it on the head with what they're doing and promoting the game, and I think that's why we're seeing locally, the excitement about people coming back to the game of golf and people out golfing here at our area golf courses, which makes it fun as a golf pro. You're seeing people that not only have never played, or people that haven't played in 6 or 8 years come back to the game of golf. It's starting to become fun, and to be able to ride this wave out through November with the majors and everything else that's coming up in the back half of the year, it's great for the game of golf.
Hey, Brian, always a pleasure. We'll catch up next week, sir.